You ever get that feeling deep in your gut? Like a quiet pull tugging you in a direction you weren't even considering? Most people shrug it off, call it nerves or coincidence. But what if I told you that feeling isn't just biological, it's spiritual? What if that tug is the voice of something far greater, far more intentional? The voice of Archangel Michael himself. See, Michael doesn't always show up with flashing swords and roaring thunder. Sometimes he comes as a whisper, a sense, a knowing, a divine nudge that won't let you rest until you follow it. And if you've been feeling that lately, restless, stirred up, a little on edge for no clear reason, then you're not crazy. You're not overthinking. You're being called, warned, guarded. I was sitting at a red light the first time I really noticed it. My hands were on the steering wheel, but my mind was far, far away. That's when it hit me like a wave. Don't go, just like that. 3 words, don't go. I looked around, everything looked normal. Nothing felt off except that surge in my chest, that gut feeling like ice melting down my spine. I ignored it. I turned into the intersection anyway. 10 seconds later, I watched a speeding truck run the red light I thought was safe. It missed my back bumper by inches. Inches. I pulled over, heart racing, and I wept, not just from fear, but from the realization someone had warned me. Later that night, as I sat quietly, I felt it again, that same presence. But this time, it wasn't fear, it was authority, power, love. A presence that filled the room with a kind of heat and peace at the same time. It didn't speak out loud, but I heard it in my spirit, clear as day. I protected you. But next time, trust me the first time. That was the beginning. The moment I realized the gut wasn't just mine, it was divine. Michael, the Archangel, is known in Scripture as the warrior of heaven, the protector, the one who fights on behalf of God's children. But what most people don't understand is that Michael doesn't always fight with swords. Sometimes he fights with silence, with warnings, with interruptions in your schedule. He'll mess up your day just to save your life. That missed flight, that delayed email, that breakup you didn't understand, all of it may be the hand of Michael at work. Because when heaven speaks, it speaks in layers. I've come to learn that when Michael is near, things shift, subtly at first and then unmistakably. You'll feel like you're being watched, but not in a creepy way, in a sacred way. Covered, surrounded, like you're not walking alone even when there's no one around. And then come the signs, numbers, names, dreams that feel like messages. You'll wake up at 3:33 a.m. and feel like the veil between heaven and earth is paper thin. You'll walk into a room and feel the atmosphere press against your spirit, like it's telling you to get out, or stay, or pray. And the more you listen, the louder heaven becomes, but it starts with trust. Not just in God, but in that still small voice. That voice that doesn't beg for your attention. It waits for your obedience. Michael won't scream. He'll just wait. He'll keep nudging until you either move or miss it. I remember another time years later, when I was about to sign a deal that looked perfect on paper. Everything lined up. The numbers were good, the people seemed trustworthy. But something deep in my gut screamed no. Not a gentle nudge this time, a violent resistance. It made no sense. It was exactly what I had prayed for. And yet, I couldn't shake that feeling. I walked away, people thought I was crazy. 2 months later, that company was exposed for fraud. The CEO was arrested. I would have lost everything. You don't ignore a gut feeling when it's soaked in the spirit of truth. And that's what Michael does. He soaks your atmosphere with truth, even when you can't explain it, even when your logic argues back. The key is surrender, the courage to say, I don't know why, but I trust what I feel. Because gut feelings from Michael aren't casual, they're assignments. They carry a weight that echoes in eternity. What you ignore today could cost you tomorrow. So if you've been feeling off, out of rhythm, or strangely drawn to this message, Understand, it's not a coincidence. Michael is speaking. You may not hear words, but you feel them. He's aligning your spirit with a higher knowing, one that can't be Googled or reasoned with, only discerned. And if you'll let him, he'll lead you, not just away from danger, but into purpose, into alignment, into places where blessings flow freely because you're in sync with the divine. But it starts with surrendering your need for explanations, because sometimes the truth is too holy to make sense. It just is. And you just know. You don't always get proof. That's the hard part. Archangel Michael doesn't leave behind fingerprints. He leaves presence, a shift in the atmosphere, a burning in the chest, a chill down your back when everything seems warm. And it's in those moments, when the room is silent, but your soul is screaming, that he speaks clearest. The day after, I walked away from that deal. I second-guessed myself. I sat in my car, angry, confused. I asked God, why give me something and then pull it back? But that's not how heaven works. God doesn't tease, he protects. And Michael, he enforces that protection like a holy sentinel. He's not here to appease your ego. He's here to preserve your calling. That's when I started journaling. Not the usual kind with to-do lists and bullet points. I started writing down gut feelings, every single one. The random ones, the odd ones, the ones that seemed too silly to be from God. And guess what? Patterns emerged. Connections I never would have seen unless I paid attention. That's the gift Michael gives. Not just protection, but training. He sharpens your spiritual instincts, fine-tunes your discernment, and breaks your reliance on logic alone, because logic can't see what the spirit sees. There was one night I couldn't sleep, tossing and turning, heart racing, but nothing was wrong. No loud thoughts, no clear fears, just an urgency in my chest. I finally got up and walked outside, and there it was, a man sitting on the curb across the street. I didn't know him, but the moment I saw him, that burning gut feeling intensified. I walked over, cautious but compelled. He was crying. Said he had just been thinking of ending his life and prayed, God, if you care, send someone. All I said was, you're not invisible. God sees you. That's all. And he broke. I'll never forget that. How Michael moved heaven and earth to disturb my sleep, just so I could speak life into someone sitting in the dark. That's what a gut feeling can do. It's not always about saving your own life. It's about saving someone else's. That's why you can't afford to ignore it. Michael doesn't speak to your mind, he speaks to your spirit. It's why you'll feel unsettled around someone everyone else likes. It's why you'll feel peace about a path that looks impossible. Because his assignment isn't to make you comfortable, it's to make you obedient. And the more you obey, the more frequent the promptings become. You'll begin to notice things. When someone lies, your body will react before your brain does. You'll sense someone's heart before they say a word. You'll feel pulled to pray for someone out of nowhere, only to find out later they were in a crisis that very moment. You'll walk into a room and feel angels near, or feel the tension of spiritual warfare, even if no one says a thing. That's Michael, training you in the field. He's not just heaven's warrior, he's heaven's signal. Some people expect angelic encounters to come with wings and lights and choirs, but I've learned it's quieter than that. It's when your stomach tightens and something invisible presses on your chest. It's when your phone rings and you already know who it is and why they're calling. It's when you dream of something you don't understand, only to have it play out weeks later exactly how you saw it. It's when you say, I don't know why, but I need to pray for them, and later find out they were in danger. That's not paranoia. That's not overthinking. That's the supernatural. Archangel Michael operates on assignment. He doesn't move unless heaven has sent him. So if you feel his presence, know this. Something in your life is being divinely rearranged. He's not a casual visitor. He's a commander of heaven's armies. And if he's showing up in your spirit, something important is about to shift. The challenge is letting go of the need to explain it. You won't always know why you're being told to leave a room, cancel a trip, decline an offer, or reach out to someone you haven't spoken to in years. But that's the beauty of trust. Obedience doesn't require understanding. It just requires yes. And when you say yes, when you move with the gut instead of the mind, you partner with the supernatural. The enemy counts on your logic to keep you bound. He hopes you'll overanalyze your way into disobedience. But Michael disrupts that. He pierces through the fog with urgency. And that urgency? That's the sign. That's the moment you know it's not just you, it's him. Heaven, speaking directly into your being. So if lately you've been restless, sensing something's coming, noticing weird patterns, waking up at strange hours, feeling drawn to people or places you don't understand, don't brush it off. Sit with it, pray into it, write it down, ask for confirmation, because the more you pay attention, the more heaven speaks. You're not imagining it, you're not crazy, you're being alerted, and the longer you walk with that awareness, the more precise it becomes. Your discernment sharpens like a blade. You'll know the moment something is off. You'll sense attacks before they land. You'll hear whispers before doors open. You'll walk into battle already armed with wisdom and favor. That's the blessing of walking with Michael. He doesn't just guard you, he trains you. Not with loud sermons, but with silent fire, with a whisper that turns into direction, with a push that turns into purpose, and it always begins with that gut feeling. The thing is, once you start trusting those promptings, you won't want to go back to ignoring them. You'll realize how much you've missed before, how many moments were dripping with the supernatural, but you chalked it up to anxiety or imagination. But this isn't fantasy. This is how heaven communicates when the stakes are too high for delay. I remember one night I was heading to a friend's house. I'd made plans, promised I'd show up, even brought a bottle of wine to share. But the closer I got, the more uneasy I felt. Not just nervous, disturbed. Like something in the atmosphere was wrong. I turned the music off in the car, pulled over and prayed. That's when I felt it. Turn back. I hesitated, of course. I didn't want to be rude, didn't want to seem flaky, but the pull was too strong. I turned around and drove home. Later that night I got a call. Someone had brought a stranger to the gathering. A fight broke out. Things got messy. Someone even pulled a weapon. Nobody was seriously hurt, thank God. But I knew then, I wasn't being dramatic. I was being protected, and not by instinct, by assignment. Archangel Michael doesn't only go to war in the heavenly realms. He steps into earthly spaces. He'll sit in your car, whisper in your ear, press into your chest. He's heaven's shield, and if your life has purpose, and I promise you it does, then he's invested in keeping you alive to fulfill it. But we don't always see it that way, do we? We treat gut feelings like background noise. We get so used to brushing them off that we don't even realize we're brushing off divine direction. It's like walking past a burning bush and never turning aside. Like hearing your name called from heaven and pretending it was just the wind. But Michael doesn't stop just because you're stubborn. He waits. He watches. And when the time is right, he speaks again, softer or louder, sometimes through a dream, sometimes through a person, sometimes through something so random it seems impossible to ignore. One time I was praying about a decision, whether to take a new job in a city I wasn't thrilled about. I'd been wrestling with it for weeks. I wanted clarity. One day, while scrolling through an old book I hadn't picked up in years, a page fell open. Highlighted by me long ago were the words, "Go where you are sent, not where you feel safe." I stopped breathing for a moment. I knew. That was Michael again. Not in the sky, but in the subtle, in the unexpected. And when I finally said yes to that job, everything started falling into place. Favor, peace, provision. It was like stepping into a river that had been flowing for me the whole time, just waiting for me to jump in. That's what happens when you follow the gut. You align yourself with destiny. Michael isn't just guarding your present. He's guiding your future. And that future depends on your ability to move when heaven speaks, even when earth doesn't understand. Because not everyone will. Some will think you're reckless. Others will call you too spiritual, too sensitive, but they're not carrying your assignment. They're not feeling the tug in your spirit. You are. And that's all that matters. You were never meant to walk this life by logic alone. You were meant to be led by the Spirit, guided by the unseen, directed by the one who sees the whole. Battlefield while you're still stuck at the gate. And sometimes that direction comes in the form of discomfort. It won't always be a sweet peace. Sometimes it's tension. Sometimes it's a knot in your stomach that doesn't loosen until you make a move. Michael's guidance is often surgical. It cuts away what's not aligned, even when it hurts. That relationship you couldn't let go of? That place you stayed in too long? That voice telling you it's time to leave? Yeah, that was never just your gut. That was divine extraction. Heaven pulling you out before the fall. I think about how many people ignore that discomfort. How many stay just a little longer in places that are spiritually toxic because they don't want to hurt feelings or break routines. But feelings don't protect your future, and routines don't preserve your purpose. Obedience does. Listening does. The more you lean into that guidance, the more confident you become in hearing it. You stop second-guessing so much. You stop needing 10 confirmations before taking one step. You recognize Michael's signature. The way he shows up, the way he presses, the way he pushes without forcing. You learn to move quickly, not anxiously, but obediently. And that's where the miracles start. Not the big flashy kind with angel wings in the sky, but the kind where you're in the right place at the right time to meet the right person. The kind where doors open and you don't even remember knocking. The kind where your delay turns out to be a setup for something better. It's all connected, all divine. All part of a heavenly rhythm you were always meant to dance to. You don't have to figure everything out. You just have to stay in tune. Michael isn't trying to make your life harder. He's trying to make it holy. He's trying to align you with timing, with protection, with supernatural intelligence. But that only happens when you stop ignoring that inner alarm, that tug, that shift in your chest that tells you something's coming. And if you've felt that lately, if your gut has been louder than usual, don't dismiss it. Don't push it down. Ask the right questions. God, what are you saying? Michael, what are you protecting me from? What do I need to see right now? That's when heaven responds. Not always in ways you expect, but always in ways you need. And when heaven responds, it's not always in thunder or lightning. Sometimes it's as quiet as a cancelled meeting, a delayed bus, a sudden shift in your calendar. Sometimes it's someone you've never met saying exactly what you needed to hear. It's Michael working the details, heaven adjusting the angles, lining things up without needing your permission, just your cooperation. But let's be real, cooperation isn't always easy. Sometimes following that nudge feels like walking through fog. You can't see more than a few steps ahead and all your instincts are screaming for a map. But Michael doesn't hand out blueprints. He gives breadcrumbs, just enough to move forward, never enough to feel in control. And that's the point. It's never been about control. It's about surrender. I remember a time I was desperate for clarity. Every door seemed shut, every option too risky. I prayed, fasted, journaled, nothing. No visions, no dreams, just silence. But the silence wasn't empty, it was sacred. It was God saying, I've already told you what to do. I'm waiting on you to trust it. And when I finally moved, trembling but obedient, it was like everything opened up. The resistance broke. The atmosphere shifted. Michael didn't say, "Go again." He was already ahead, clearing the path, waiting at the next turn. That's the kind of trust heaven is cultivating in you. Not blind trust, but sacred trust. The kind where you stop needing constant reassurance because your spirit recognizes the frequency of truth. Where your gut isn't a question mark, it's a compass. And when your compass starts pointing, you follow, even if it leads you into the unknown. Some of the greatest blessings in my life didn't come wrapped in clarity. They came through confusion, delay, and discomfort. They came through gut feelings I didn't want to obey, whispers I wished I could ignore. But every single time I chose obedience over comfort, the outcome was divine. Not always easy, but always divine. Michael shows up in those messy moments when your logic says stay, but your spirit says run. When everyone's telling you to be patient, but the fire in your chest says move now. That's not rebellion, it's revelation. That's not panic, it's prophetic urgency. And when you learn to tell the difference, you walk in a level of discernment that hell can't counterfeit. It's like spiritual night vision. You start seeing in the dark. You start hearing what's unspoken. You feel the temperature of a room before a word is even said. That's Michael's gift to the spiritually alert. Supernatural perception. Not paranoia, not fear, but holy clarity. And with that clarity comes responsibility. Because once you know, you can't unknow. Once you feel that shift in your gut, you can't act like you didn't. You're accountable to what heaven has revealed. That means no more pretending you didn't hear it. No more waiting for someone else to confirm what God already whispered. No more playing small because you're scared of what obedience will cost you. Listen, it might cost you relationships. It might cost you plans. It might even cost you opportunities that looked good on paper but weren't covered in oil. But obedience will always preserve what matters most, your purpose. And Michael isn't fighting for your convenience. He's fighting for your calling. That's what's on the line when you ignore your gut. Not just peace, but purpose. And purpose doesn't beg to be heard. It commands your attention. I've seen people derail years of progress by ignoring one gut check. One moment of unease that they called stress instead of seeing it as spiritual redirection. And I get it. We all miss it sometimes. We're human. But heaven doesn't shame you for missing the signs. Michael doesn't give up because you took the wrong turn. He recalibrates, he redeploys, and when you're ready, he signals again. And here's the thing. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be sensitive. You just need to care enough to pause when your spirit tightens, to pray when your stomach flips, to listen when the atmosphere shifts. You need to care more about staying in sync with heaven than staying in step with what's expected, because heaven's rhythm won't always match Earth's pace. Sometimes Michael will tell you to wait when everyone else is sprinting. Sometimes he'll push you forward when it feels safer to stall. But his timing isn't random, it's righteous. And the more you follow it, the more you'll see why things had to unfold the way they did. I've learned to stop asking, why now? And start asking, what's heaven up to? Because even the delays are prophetic. Even the detours are strategic. Nothing is wasted when you're walking with angels. Nothing is random when your gut is tuned to the frequency of God. So if you've been sensing something, don't dismiss it. That stirring, that restlessness, that internal tension, it's a signal, not a burden, not an overreaction. It's a signal that something's about to shift, that something is already shifting, and you need to be in position for what comes next. Michael isn't just visiting you, he's deploying you. Your gut isn't just a warning system, it's an invitation. An invitation to rise, to walk differently, to lead with discernment and move with divine timing, to be the kind of person who doesn't need to see the storm to know when to seek cover, who doesn't need to be convinced to let go of what's heavy, who doesn't apologize for being spiritually sensitive. You were wired to feel this. You were made for this level of discernment. Heaven trusted you with this level of sensitivity because you're meant to do something with it, and Michael is committed to making sure you do. And so the shift began to show up in ways I couldn't deny, not just inside of me, but all around me. The conversations that used to energize me suddenly felt draining. The places I once found comfort now made me feel spiritually exposed. People I'd walked with for years started fading into the background, not because of drama, but because my alignment was changing. I was leveling up, and heaven was making room for the new by gently removing the old. Michael doesn't just fight battles outside of you, he fights the ones inside you too. The war between who you were and who you're becoming, between comfort and calling, between fitting in and rising up. And trust me, that battle is loud, but in the middle of it there's that gut feeling again, that sacred pull that says don't settle, that divine unease that whispers, there's more. And here's what I've learned. God won't let you feel peace where you don't belong. He'll make you uncomfortable in the exact place you're trying to plant roots. Not to punish you, but to protect you. Not to reject your efforts, but to reroute your energy. When heaven is trying to move you, discomfort is often the first invitation. I can't count how many times I begged God to let me stay in a space that no longer fit me. A job, a relationship, a mindset. I thought I could fix it, I thought I could make it work. But no matter how hard I tried, that uneasiness never left. That's when I knew it wasn't an attack, it was an awakening. It was Michael nudging my soul, saying, this isn't your final stop, keep walking. Because gut feelings often come when you're on the edge of something greater, right before the breakthrough, right before the door opens. That's when your spirit gets loud. That's when everything in you starts vibrating with a tension you can't explain. It's like your soul knows a storm is clearing, even when your eyes still see clouds. And the enemy knows it too. So he'll send distractions dressed as opportunities. He'll flood your life with noise, hoping you'll ignore the quiet voice. That's trying to lead you. He'll twist your gut feelings into anxiety if you're not careful. That's why discernment is so vital. You have to learn the difference between fear and warning, between anxiety and Holy Spirit caution, between a red flag and your own insecurity. Michael helps you with that. He sharpens your spiritual instincts. He fine-tunes your inner radar so you don't get taken out by what looks good but isn't God. That's one of his greatest assignments, exposing the counterfeit. And trust me, counterfeits always show up right before the real thing. Right before the blessing, right before the promise. So if your spirit's been heavy, if your gut's been unsettled, maybe it's not a problem. It's preparation. Maybe Michael isn't trying to scare you. He's trying to alert you. Because heaven doesn't send warnings to paralyze you. It sends them to position you. And that feeling you can't shake. That's not you being dramatic. That's you being prophetic. We've got to stop apologizing for being in tune with heaven. Stop dumbing down your discernment to make others comfortable. If your gut says something's off, trust that. If your spirit pulls back when everyone else leans in, honor that. You don't owe anyone an explanation for obeying what heaven whispers to your soul. Michael's voice isn't always loud, but it's always clear. He doesn't argue. He alerts. And when he shows up, he brings the kind of truth that leaves no room for doubt. It might shake you. It might stretch you. But it will never steer you wrong. And when you begin to walk in that level of clarity, everything about your life changes. You stop entertaining distractions. You stop second-guessing your instincts. You stop waiting for 10 signs when one nudge from the Holy Spirit is enough. You become dangerous to the enemy, not because you're loud or flashy, but because you're aligned, because you don't need a crisis to get close to God. You're already listening. You're already moving. You're already obeying the whisper before it becomes a roar. That's what heaven is building in you. Responsiveness, not perfection, not performance. just a willingness to respond when God speaks, to move when Michael nudges, to trust your gut even when it doesn't make sense to your mind. That's how warriors are made. That's how leaders are trained. Not in the spotlight, but in secret, in the quiet choices, in the hidden obediences, in the midnight gut checks that nobody sees, but heaven celebrates. And I need you to hear this. You are not crazy, you're called. You are not overreacting, you are being alerted. That stirring inside you, that pressure, that spiritual tension that keeps waking you up at night, that's not anxiety, it's activation. That's not fear, it's your spirit standing at attention. That's Michael drawing your focus, recalibrating your steps, making sure you don't miss what's coming next. Because what's coming next is too big to miss. You're not just feeling things, you're perceiving things. You're not just unsettled, you're being invited higher. You're not just sensitive, you're spiritually awake. And heaven needs you to stay that way. Don't numb it, don't mute it, don't apologize for it. This world needs people who still listen, who still feel, who still respond. You are one of those people. So the next time your gut says, pause, pause. The next time your spirit says, not this, walk away. The next time Michael shows up in a dream, in a scripture, in a subtle moment that everyone else missed, pay attention. That's not coincidence, that's choreography. Heaven is moving, Michael is moving. And if you stay in tune, you'll move with him, into places you never imagined, into breakthroughs you never earned, into moments that were written for you, long before you arrived. You don't need to figure it all out, you just need to follow the feeling. As you keep moving forward, guided by that gut feeling, you'll notice something remarkable. The world around you starts to respond differently. It's as if the atmosphere itself shifts in your favor. Doors you thought were closed start to creak open. People who were once distant become allies. Opportunities you never saw coming begin to line up. This isn't coincidence, this is divine orchestration, and Michael is in the middle of it all. But here's the catch. The pathway won't always look like you expect. Sometimes it's winding. Sometimes it's steep. Sometimes it asks you to step out without seeing the whole staircase. That's where faith becomes your fuel. Not blind faith, but faith rooted in the whispers of your spirit. Faith built on those moments when you felt a nudge and followed it, and the impossible became possible. You'll learn that Michael's voice often comes disguised as intuition, as a persistent thought, as a subtle but relentless pull in your soul. It's not flashy, not dramatic. It's quiet but powerful, gentle but firm. He knows that if he screamed at you, you might shut down or run away. Instead, he calls softly, hoping you have the courage to listen. And when you do listen, everything begins to change. Your mindset shifts, your heart aligns, your steps gain purpose. You stop wandering aimlessly and start moving with intention. It's like your spirit has plugged into a divine GPS that recalculates with every step you take. But don't get discouraged if it feels slow sometimes. Spiritual growth and breakthrough rarely happen overnight. It's a process, a journey through patience, perseverance, and continual surrender. Michael is there through every twist and turn, reminding you that even when you feel stuck, you're moving forward in ways you can't yet see. What's important is that you don't give up. Don't ignore that gut feeling just because the path seems uncertain. That feeling is your supernatural compass, and it will never lead you astray. There will be moments of doubt, moments when you question if this feeling is really from God or just your own worries playing tricks. Those are the moments when you have to anchor yourself in prayer, scripture, and the testimonies of those who've walked before you. Remind yourself that God's voice is consistent, full of peace, love, and clarity. Michael also reminds you that discernment isn't about perfection, it's about progression. You're not expected to get it right every time, but you are called to keep learning, growing and adjusting your course as you go. And remember, you're not alone. Archangel Michael is your spiritual protector and guide, standing with his sword at the ready to defend you against confusion, fear, and deception. When you feel overwhelmed, call on him. When your gut feels heavy, ask for clarity. When you face battles, know that he fights on your behalf. This partnership with Michael is a sacred alliance, a divine friendship that empowers you to walk boldly in your purpose, even when the road ahead is uncertain. So, embrace the gut feeling. Trust it, follow it. It's the sign you've been waiting for, the sign that you're on the right path aligned with heaven's plan. And as you walk that path, know this: the best is yet to come. As you continue down this path, you'll find that your connection with Archangel Michael deepens beyond just that initial gut feeling. It becomes a conversation, a partnership. You'll start recognizing his presence in moments of stillness, in dreams, in sudden bursts of courage. It's like he's walking right beside you, whispering strategy, reminding you who you are in the spiritual realm. And that's the real power behind these gut feelings. They aren't just random emotions or impulses. They're divine downloads. Messages from a realm beyond our physical senses, designed to keep you safe, on course, and spiritually equipped. Michael is not just alerting you to danger, he's revealing your destiny. One of the hardest lessons is learning to trust something so invisible. Because gut feelings don't come with receipts or guarantees, they come with uncertainty, and that can be terrifying. But here's where faith steps in. Faith that the same God who breathed life into your lungs also placed that warning in your heart. Faith that you are being led, not abandoned. Faith that every nudge is calibrated by infinite wisdom. You'll start noticing how your gut feelings align with Scripture too. Passages that suddenly jump off the page, sermons that feel personally tailored, hymns that stir something deep inside. These are not coincidences but confirmations, spiritual signposts reinforcing the messages Michael is sending. And in time, you'll also grow in discernment. You'll learn to differentiate between fear and Holy Spirit promptings, between anxiety and angelic alerts. It takes practice, patience, and prayer. Sometimes you'll get it wrong. Sometimes your emotions will cloud the signal. But every step is a step closer to spiritual clarity. Michael also teaches you about spiritual authority. When you obey that gut feeling, you're not just protecting yourself, you're claiming your God-given power. You're standing firm against the schemes of the enemy and stepping into the role you were created for. That feeling of being unsettled, it's a sign that you're rejecting lies and aligning with truth. And don't underestimate the power of obedience in small things. Saying no to a toxic situation, walking away from a harmful habit, choosing kindness in a difficult moment. These are the daily battles Michael fights alongside you. The gut feelings often show up in these small choices before they appear. In the big moments, your spiritual senses will sharpen over time. What once felt like confusion or fear will transform into confidence and clarity. You'll become a beacon of light, not just for yourself, but for others who are lost or unsure. That's the ripple effect of walking in obedience to those inner warnings. One final thing Michael impresses on the heart is this: your gut feelings are a sacred trust. Don't ignore them, but also don't weaponize them against yourself or others. They are meant to guide, not to condemn. They point to freedom, not fear. They invite you to step into life, not run from it. You're being trained for greater things, things that require a keen sense of spiritual awareness and boldness, things that will stretch your faith and expand your influence. Michael's gut feeling for you is not just about survival. It's about thriving in God's purpose, and that's why you can never afford to ignore it. Because when you respond to that inner whisper, you align yourself with the very heart of heaven. You step into the supernatural flow where miracles happen, battles are won, and destinies are fulfilled. You are being called not just to hear, but to act. And as you do, you'll find that what seemed like just a gut feeling becomes the soundtrack of your victorious life. The deeper you go into this journey, the more you realize that gut feelings are not just internal alarms, they are invitations to step into your God-ordained destiny. Archangel Michael, the great protector and warrior, uses these moments to shape you, prepare you, and empower you. Each subtle nudge is a sacred call to remember who you are and what you were created to do. One of the biggest shifts you'll experience is learning to discern the difference between your own fears and the spiritual warnings sent to protect you. Fear often shouts, demanding your attention and filling you with anxiety. But a gut feeling from Michael is calm, persistent, and steady, a soft but firm guide that says, "This way." It's a divine GPS that works even when the road ahead seems dark. And as you grow in this discernment, you'll notice that your spiritual senses expand. You begin to recognize signs and synchronicities, those meaningful moments that seem too perfect to be coincidence. A certain scripture that leaps off the page just when you need it. A stranger's words that seem tailor-made for your situation. A dream so vivid it wakes you in awe. These moments are Michael's fingerprints on your journey, affirming that you are not walking alone. This growth also means you'll start to lean less on what you see and more on what you sense. The physical world becomes less of your guide. Instead, your spirit takes the lead. This can be scary because it requires trust without tangible proof. But Michael reminds you that faith is the bridge from uncertainty to breakthrough. You cross that bridge one step at a time, guided by that gut feeling. It's also important to understand that obeying this inner voice isn't always popular or easy. Sometimes it will require you to stand alone, to make unpopular decisions, to walk away from familiar comforts. This is where courage becomes your closest companion. Michael fights not just your battles, but also your fears, giving you supernatural strength to follow where the Spirit leads. And here's a powerful truth. When you obey that gut feeling, you're not just protecting yourself, you're protecting your future. You're preventing detours, setbacks, and spiritual attacks. You're keeping your destiny on track. Michael's role as a heavenly warrior means he's always alert, guarding the path ahead and helping you avoid traps that you might not even see. Sometimes the messages will come in moments of silence, a pause during prayer, a quiet moment in nature, a sudden calm in the middle of chaos. Don't dismiss these moments. They are often the most potent times when Michael's presence is closest, speaking directly to your spirit. And remember, this journey is not about being perfect. It's about being faithful. Faithful to the voice inside, faithful to the call on your life, faithful to the process. Michael doesn't demand perfection. He honors progress. Every time you listen, even if you stumble, you grow stronger in your spiritual muscle. Eventually, your gut feeling becomes a way of life. It's the daily compass that guides your choices, relationships, and dreams. You'll find yourself making decisions that feel right deep down, even when they don't make sense logically. You'll learn to say no to what doesn't serve your soul and yes to what leads to growth and blessing. And as you walk this way, you'll discover something extraordinary. Your life starts to reflect the glory of heaven. You become a living testimony of faith, a beacon of hope for others who are searching for direction. That's the power of listening to Michael's gut feeling, the power to transform not just your own life, but the world around you. As you continue to grow into this spiritual rhythm, the gut feeling you receive from Archangel Michael becomes a trusted companion in every facet of your life. It no longer feels like a fleeting whisper, but a strong, reliable voice within you, guiding your steps, decisions, and even your prayers. This isn't just about avoiding danger, It's about embracing your divine assignment with clarity and boldness. You'll notice how this inner guidance helps you navigate relationships. Michael's gut feeling acts as a protective shield, alerting you when someone or something isn't aligned with your spiritual path. Sometimes it's a quiet hesitation when meeting someone new. Other times, it's an unexplainable urge to step back from a toxic environment. Trusting this guidance protects your heart and your spirit. In your work and creative pursuits, this gut feeling sparks inspiration at unexpected moments. Ideas come to you that feel divinely inspired, solutions to problems you've been wrestling with, breakthroughs in projects that seemed stalled, or the courage to pursue a dream you once thought impossible. Michael is opening doors behind the scenes, and your intuition is the key to unlocking them. And when life throws its inevitable challenges and storms your way, that gut feeling becomes your anchor. It steadies your heart amid uncertainty and fear. When everyone else is panicking or giving up, you'll feel that calm assurance that says, "Keep going, you're protected." That's Michael's presence in your spirit, constant, unwavering, and fierce. It's important to remember that this relationship with Michael is a two-way street. While he guides and protects, you must remain open and obedient. Prayer becomes more than words, it becomes a conversation. Listening is just as important as speaking. The more you cultivate silence and stillness in your life, the more you'll hear his whispers clearly. You'll also begin to recognize that gut feelings can come as subtle warnings or as powerful confirmations. Both are valuable. Sometimes it's a gentle tug to pause and reconsider. Other times it's a strong push to act boldly. Your role is to stay attentive and responsive. This process transforms your understanding of spirituality. It becomes deeply personal, practical, and empowering. You realize that you are not passive in your faith, but an active participant in a divine partnership. Michael's gut feeling is a sacred tool, given to you to navigate the complexities of life with supernatural wisdom. And as you embrace this truth, your confidence grows. You start to live fearlessly, knowing you have a warrior on your side. You stop second-guessing yourself because your spirit is tuned to a higher frequency. You start making choices that honor your soul and align with God's plan for you. This spiritual clarity doesn't just benefit you, it becomes a light for others. People will notice your peace, your wisdom, and your strength. They'll seek your counsel and be inspired by your testimony. Through your obedience to that gut feeling, you become a channel of God's grace and power. So, as you prepare to step into the final part of this message, remember this. Your gut feeling from Archangel Michael is more than intuition. It's a divine signal. It's the sacred guidepost leading you through every uncertainty and challenge. You were never meant to walk this path alone, and with Michael by your side, there is nothing you cannot face. Now, as we come to the final stretch of this journey, it's vital to recognize that the gut feeling Archangel Michael places within you is not just a one-time event. It's an ongoing lifeline, a sacred channel of communication that keeps flowing as long as you nurture it with faith, prayer, and openness. This feeling is your spiritual compass, your internal alarm system, and your encouragement all rolled into one. It's there to protect you from harm, yes, but more importantly, it's there to lead you into your divine destiny, into the life that God has meticulously planned just for you. Remember, this journey isn't about perfection or having all the answers. It's about being faithful in the moment, in the small steps, and trusting that those steps are preparing you for something greater. Michael's presence is a reminder that even when you can't see the whole picture, you're never walking in the dark. You'll face seasons of uncertainty, doubt, and testing, but the gut feeling, the deep knowing from Michael, will anchor you. It will pull you back when you stray, push you forward when you hesitate, and comfort you when fear threatens to overwhelm. The spiritual battle is real, and Michael is your warrior. He stands between you and the chaos, wielding his mighty sword to cut through confusion, lies, and spiritual attack. When you call on him, you're invoking the power of heaven's army, and that's a force no darkness can overcome. Your task is simple yet profound. Listen, trust, and obey. That gut feeling is the sign you can't afford to ignore, because it's the voice of divine wisdom. It's the spark that ignites your courage and the beacon that lights your way. So when that feeling stirs inside you, when your spirit nudges you to act or pause or pray, respond with confidence. You are being guided by one of heaven's mightiest angels. You are being equipped to walk boldly into the future God has prepared. And as you do, you'll find that the impossible becomes possible. The mountains in your life begin to move, doors swing open, chains fall off, and your spirit soars in freedom and purpose. This is the power of that gut feeling from Archangel Michael. It's not just a sign, it's a call to life, to victory, and to divine destiny. So step forward with faith, walk boldly with Michael by your side, and never forget, you were made for this.